over FY20, then end with lead report ins, as well as a feedback, an open discussion and feedback if we have time. Oh, that's weird. Okay. One moment. Okay. Alert, stopwatch, start. Once I get the recording, I'll edit that awkward pause out. All right. So what is the Asian Connections Affinity Group? We are yes. Yeah. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I can probably just re-record on my own time.
I'm sorry, is
Okay.
there any way that Georgiana and I could be added to the Google Meet? Because I think since it went through a just email, we're either stuck in the waiting room or something.
It's really
We
weird.
can't actually see anything that's going on.
It's really weird because there's no waiting room that I can let you into. So what you can do is you can open up the slide and just follow along.
Okay.
If you're on a computer or even on your phone, I think you should still be able to open it. I sent it out through email.
I'll let her know.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're back. Yes, the agenda. What is the Asian Connections Affinity Group? We're a diversity and inclusion AG meant to serve the Asian minority within SWE, Asian and Pacific Islander. This includes South Asians, Southeast Asians, East Asians, and Pacific Islanders. Basically, if you consider yourself Asian, then you're welcome into the affinity group. And these are some pictures from the past conference, so FY19, and some of the things we've shared within the group. One of our members made dumplings, or those are wontons. On the bottom left, there's a photo of a really delicious tradition, I think in Hawaii, or it's basically sushi and it looks really delicious. And I'm very hungry right now, actually. And we've had the Zoom in the middle, the Zoom screenshot. That was from our recent essentially general body meeting or all members meeting. And there's a lot of diversity and amazing women within this affinity group. And I'm really excited for our new leads to join us and make the experience for our members even better and just to really enhance and promote our mission. All right. As I mentioned before in the agenda, we're starting with a diversity moment. What is a diversity moment? Essentially, this is very common in every SWE meeting that you'll be in. At the beginning of the meeting, we'll spend 5 to 10 minutes going over a D&I topic or issue just to have a conversation and to ensure that D&I is present at our meeting. And the diversity moment can be a variety of things. It could be a YouTube video, it could be statistics, it could be a personal account, or something that someone recently learned. As long as it promotes diversity and inclusion, then anyone is free to share it. For this meeting, I'll ask Margaret to go over this graph a little bit, but we'll rotate the person who proposes the diversity moment and speaks about it. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thanks. Yeah, I can jump in. So Lisi found this data. Lisi, what was your source actually? I don't think we talked about that.
I believe it's at the bottom. IPUMS USA University of Minnesota. They did the study on marital status and how it correlates with race and gender.
Awesome. Yeah. So what's this chart was one of a couple different charts in the link. So we're looking at here hourly wage by marital status, race, and gender. And the thing that jumps out on this graph, right, is that there's kind of one outlier, and it's the solid orange line for married white men. So it's basically showing that, as age increases, married white men seem to, increase in hourly wage and then kind of reach a plateau, just under $40 an hour for the rest of their careers. And you can see for all of the other sectors that were studied, they have a similar shape in terms of a slight rise in early career and then a plateau. But the key difference is that they're all kind of grouped at a lower hourly rate, wage by marital status, race, and gender. So honestly, we just kind of wanted to have an open discussion here on, what your thoughts are about this graph and what you think that means. Have you ever experienced anything like this or seen anything like this in your industry? There's a lot of different ways to dissect it. So I'm going to just kind of pause here and see if anyone just has any initial thoughts.
I'm going to jump in real quick.
Sure.
The reason why we're bringing this up is because we often hear about the gender wage gap, and women are often paid less throughout their career because employers see them as less reliable than men, because they might leave to have children. They're usually the homemakers, the person taking care of the family. And this graph kind of flips that narrative on the head, because we should expect single white men to perhaps be higher than married white women. They didn't study Asians in this study, so I don't have that information. But it's really married white men versus literally everyone else.
Yeah, I want to share. So I have heard studies say that when women get to their age where they have baby, like between 20 and 40s, um, people feel less confidence they will stick around because they have responsibility at home. But when men have children, they feel like the man is more dependent, more responsible.
Mhm.
So they get promotion in a faster rate after they have children. So that is not fair, but that's the fact.
Yeah, that's great.
Another thing that this makes me think about is just maternity versus paternity leave. So I think companies today are starting to catch up, at least in the United States, that men are now given some amount of paternity leave when they have children, but it's usually much shorter than a woman's maternity leave. And at least kind of anecdotally in my experience, a lot of colleagues and friends of mine who are male who have taken that paternity leave usually will do it like in chunks or staggered, versus it seems like women tend to take several months in a row consecutively, right? And I think that just it really affects your ability to kind of move through your career seamlessly, right? Where I think women are taking a real break, a real pause, whereas I think men are kind of sometimes able to, take a couple weeks here, take a couple weeks there, and it doesn't really set them behind necessarily. So, like when I think about my industry, we have kind of 2-year rotations that we work, and if you add up your maternity leave, you could be, a fourth of that rotation out. And it just sets you behind to an extent. You're if you have a couple kids, then that's a couple rotations where that's been impacted, and it adds up. So even just by taking that leave, sometimes just the number of positions that you can get by a certain age, I think, is different than male counterparts, especially if they're not really taking a significant paternity leave. So that jumps out at me too. Yeah, I think it's very company dependent still, right? But like I know for ours, it's kind of a paternity leave, and it builds into flexible workplace. So like I have a couple of friends that are taking, I forget the number of weeks. I want to say it's 6 weeks that they're offered at this point. They kind of will do like maybe like 2 weeks right up front, right when their partner gives birth, in that challenging time, and then their partner takes like 3+ months of maternity leave, and then when she's kind of easing back in, then he'll kind of take the next step to kind of ease the transition. So you can kind of just imagine, it's like it's not like you're missing 3 consecutive months. It's kind of like longer vacation periods, right? So you're not really like out of commission from your assignment, and that definitely changes things, right?
Yeah, that's very true. Most of the men, they never take the whole time. That's a good point because the men at work that I have seen, when their wife take, let's say, 2 months, then they will take 1 week here, 1 week there. When the wife is actually going back to work, they will take 1 week. So they never take the whole 2 months in a row.
Right. And I think like sometimes I think like benefit of the doubt, I don't necessarily think that that's even, you know, them like men viewing it as like a opportunity to get ahead. I think that they genuinely deal with stigmas of their own, that like they're not expected to stay home that long, right? Like I think that that's like a very new concept, and different workplaces may not be as open to that yet. There still may be very negative connotations of like, what are you doing taking all that time off, right? Even though they're allowed to do it, like, well, do you really need to, right? So
Yeah.
oh wow. Wow.
Mm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The difference in how women and men are perceived when they have children is just incredible. And yeah, there are definitely stigmas that when sometimes going back to why men are promoted, they're seen as they're the breadwinners when they have children. They're expected to be more hardworking. They're expected to provide more for their family. And within the same research, the graph isn't on here, but men, or white men in this case, tend to also work the most hours. So they make the most, but they also work the most. And that, I'm sure, has many societal factors that they're expected to do that,
Mm-hmm.
which, I mean, isn't always healthy because um, I hear stories about parents not spending time with their children early on and then regretting it later when they're older. So that's something the industry should definitely examine and change.
Well, and I think this probably rings home for a lot of folks right now, especially with the pandemic going on. I mean, I feel like it's every day that I'm seeing articles about how women are the ones that are kind of dropping out of the workforce, right, to support kids at home and do all of this homeschooling and everything. And it's, a really a burden that women are bearing. And I think I saw something, I think it was like 1 in 4 women are considering leaving the workforce because of the pandemic, something like that. I mean, the numbers are really, really high. So, you know, right, we're going to have to keep a close eye on it because this graph is already pretty substantial. And
Mhm.
I really think the pandemic is going to have some serious lasting effects there. So,
Right. Does anyone have any other thoughts on this graph? If not, I'll move on. We do see a slight downward trend towards the, well, no, yeah, this was in 2016, so it might be interesting to see what it's like in 2020 or what's like in a few years after the pandemic, because the pandemic is, I think, going to cause a lot of changes in how people work, how companies approach work from home now that we know it actually can be done on a large scale. So it'll be interesting if they redid the research in a few years. Okay, next slide. Before I get into the Affinity Group FY21 leads, this is the all AG leads, I'll just mention the new leads and volunteers, as well as the returning leads and volunteers, since I don't have a slide for that. I'll just list the names really quickly. We'll go into the introductions later. So for this fiscal year, we have 8 new leads and volunteers. Going down the list, Margaret Omori will be vice lead or is vice lead. Renewal John is social media lead. Xiangge Wang is professional engagement lead. Rachel Valesco is collegiate engagement lead. Shivani Cole is mentoring lead. Amrutha Ramesh is professional engagement subgroup member. Dratina Theo is social media subgroup, and Celine Ku is collegiate engagement subgroup. So these are our new volunteers and leads. Yay, yay, more help. Essentially, the team is doubling in size, which is really exciting. I think this will help a lot with all the goals that we want to achieve for this year. And our returning leads and volunteers include Lisi Q, me as lead, Christine Lowe as the community lead, Danielle Young as the newsletter lead, Vanessa Lee as the conference lead, Victoria. Don't know how to say your last name. Or is it Ping? Okay, Ping. As the awards and recognition lead, Han Schnell as the cultural lead, Jenny Markawa and Nora Lynn as advisors. Right, so yeah, let's welcome the new leads. Well, everyone will have the opportunity to introduce themselves later, but yeah, thank you so much for volunteering, and thank you to the returning leads for their work so far. Clap, 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 clap. All right. In these few slides, I'll be going over the structure of the affinity group, since we have some new members who might not be familiar with it. We have 11 affinity groups across diversity and inclusion, as well as business interest. The Asian Connections AG falls under DNI. And we have Latinos, African American, Native American, LGBTQ+, and allies, Asian Connections. And the newest one is He for Sweet. Within this leadership, we report to Ivelisse, and Ivelisse reports to Barbara Brockett, who is on the board of directors, and she serves as our liaison. We also have 2 board sponsors who are more like mentors and coaches for the affinity groups rather than the person we report our action items to. And those individuals are Heather Doty and Dana Johnson. Heather is actually the FY21 president of SWE, which is really exciting. And you might get an opportunity to meet her at one of our quarterly meetings, which will probably be after conference in November or December. And Dana Johnson is serving her second year, year 2 of 2, as a director on the board.
I have a clarifying question. Board
Yes.
sponsors, is it the diversity and inclusion side of this org chart, or is it everything under Barbara?
Okay, so the board sponsors are actually specific to our affinity, are specific to each affinity group. We have 2 board sponsors, but the other AGs have their own 2 board sponsors.
Got it. Okay.
And this is specific just to the affinity groups. You won't see committees with this type of structure.
Okay.
Or
Thanks.
even sections. Next up is the organizational chart for our specific affinity group. Now that we have a vice lead, we decided that it would be good to kind of divide the leads into under under each everyone's call lead, it's so confusing. It's a good idea to divide the focus area leads under a specific, under either me or Margaret. And this is how we're split. I'll be directly corresponding with social media, newsletter, conference, mentoring, and cultural. And Margaret will be corresponding with community, professional, collegiate, and awards. One thing to note is if you're sending emails, do CC both of us or send it to one and CC the other, just so that everything's transparent and we know what's going on with the entire team. But your direct reports are either Margaret or I. So within the affinity group, there are essentially 3 pillars, and this comes into play later because we're not going to have all team meetings every month. I'll talk a little bit about that later. Essentially, a shift from last year is we want to make these meetings a little more dynamic and productive. Typically at all team meetings, it's very hard for all the leads to report in and to also brainstorm or get any action items done. So we're going to have these quarterly all team meetings, and during the months where we don't have the quarterly all team meetings, we'll have essentially focus area meetings. Okay. And how advisors kind of fit into the structure is the advisors advise the leads on our strategic plan, goals, maybe new initiatives, just to provide their perspective, but they're not directly in charge of anything. We also have general volunteers. Those are the subgroup volunteers that I mentioned before. We have 3, and they'll be working in partnership with the leads on their interests. Okay. Do we have any questions about the organizational chart? One thing, yes.
Nope, looks good.
One thing to note is we are a relatively new affinity group. This is going to be our 2nd year as a AG within SWE. So we're always trying new things, trying to streamline our processes, and what we're trying this year is really different from what we did last year, and it might not work. It might work, it might not. So letting us, the leads, know and letting the rest of the team know if something is working or isn't working is going to be very beneficial in moving forward and keeping the group very agile. All right, now we're going to go into the actual introductions. So Vanessa, you're first. Yeah, please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Vanessa Lee. Can you
Yes.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm Vanessa Lee. I'm the conference lead for this year. My pronouns are she, hers, and I'm originally from Hong Kong. Right now, I'm located in Indiana. I'm in Eastern Time Zone. My section is Southwest Central Indiana, and I'm a process leader at Novellus Aluminum. Hobbies, right now during pandemic, my hobbies has been shopping and listening to audiobooks and watching TV.
Yeah, what shows are you watching?
Just random things on TV. I like to switch channels.
Okay. Right, next up. So Nora is not here, but I'll quickly go over her profile. I'm not sure if she'll be attending the next meeting, but Nora Lynn, this is her information. I'm really not sure what to say, but she's retired from the defense industry, and she was, I believe, the FY10 Society president for SWE. She's Chinese American, and she immigrated to the US many years ago. And she currently resides in Illinois, I believe Chicago or the surrounding area. And yeah, I would love to learn about her hobbies and interests. Maybe the next time I'll ask her. All right, Christine, you're up.
Hi everyone. My name's Christine. My pronouns are she, her. My heritage is Singaporean American, so I'm a first generation American. I'm currently in Minneapolis attending the University of Minnesota for my PhD in chemical engineering. It's my first year. And my hobbies are cooking. I have an air fryer, so I love trying out new recipes, traveling when it's not in a global pandemic, and K through 12 outreach.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I have an air fryer as well. It's not really good at making fries, but it's really good at making chicken. Like
I've
chicken is
made cake with
amazing.
it, so like
You
would
can make
recommend it.
cake?
Yeah, would recommend making cake and like biscuits. I want to try a cookie, but
Mhm.
I don't know.
Awesome. Thank you. Jenny Morikawa is also another advisor for the AG. She's Taiwanese American, currently resides in Detroit, in Michigan, and she's affiliated with the SWE Detroit section. She's a project engineer in the automotive industry, and she has, I think, two sons. And I know one of her sons is really into baseball, but I don't know her hobbies and interests. Yeah, so over the hopefully over the course of this year, you'll get to know the other volunteers within the leadership team some more, and it's very casual, honestly. It's a great way to just make some friends and maybe pass the time during COVID. All right, Margaret.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Margaret, and I'm the new vice lead, which is very exciting. My pronouns are she and hers. I'm Japanese American. Honestly, I really feel like I'm just kind of a mix. I am half Japanese, so my dad's Japanese, and then my mom is Caucasian, and she's all sorts of things. She's German and Belgian and French, so there's a lot going on in our family, but that makes it a lot of fun. I'm currently located in New York City. So I live in Manhattan, kind of near Central Park, if anyone knows the city. My SWE affiliate, so I haven't been involved in a section since graduating from college. My company has us move around a lot, so I've stayed involved through SWE, through my company ExxonMobil's SWE section, and we do, a lot of events and recruiting and kind of outreach in coordination with different sections. So that's kind of been how I've stayed connected to the group, and then kind of dipping my toes back into a leadership group here with the affinity group. So occupation, I'm a project manager at ExxonMobil. I manage environmental remediation projects around New York, New Jersey, and Massachusetts. And then hobbies and interests, I took a picture here. I saw someone else had a hiking picture, I think. So I feel like my interests are a little different. These are probably my COVID-19 interests, a lot more outdoor time than I used to have, but it's been fun. It's been fun exploring the area. So this is actually a picture from today. I was hiking maybe about an hour north of New York City along the Hudson, and doing a lot of yoga, trying to stay calm, and indoor cycling. I got a cheap version of a Peloton bike, so I've been doing that to reduce stress as well. Reading books, arts and crafts, and lots of puzzles. So if you ask me next year, I might have some different hobbies, but for now, that's that's what's been keeping me busy. So excited to be here and meet you all and join the team.
Oh, what trail were you on? I might have hiked there.
Today it was called Anthony's Nose. Yeah, it's cool. Nice, yeah. So it's like the Appalachian Trail area right along the Hudson.
Oh yeah, that's I think a lot more north. I went to New Jersey. Can't remember the name, but
I've
Yeah,
done Anthony's Nose in the past. It's a fun one.
yeah, it's nice. It's less crowded than some of the other really famous, like Storm King and some of the other really famous New York ones. So it's nice. Yeah, exactly. Well, and then it's funny because you see Bear Mountain and you're like, watching all these people deal with parking issues, and Anthony's Nose. I mean, it's very similar views, right? I mean, it's pretty beautiful and a lot less crowded. So it was a good day.
all right. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really excited because, as many of you might know, I'm also in New York. So, yay! This is awesome. Um, maybe we'll meet up when COVID gets a little better and have it in person.
Definitely.
meeting. Yes, Victoria.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah.
What do you craft? Hmm, woodworking. Yeah, that's awesome. Oh, I've wanted to get a 3D printer. There's a really inexpensive one for around $350 from China. Did you get that one? Yeah, yeah, it's the Ender Pro. Yes, I want that one, but it's $300. Do you do indoor or outdoor gardening? Yes. Mhm. Yeah, I'm getting to winterize most of my plants, so I have this beautiful one in my room. It's a pearl and jade. I'm obsessed with plants, and I started 2 months ago, but I probably have over 20 now. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. NASA did a study on it. All right. Next up is me. My name is Lacey Q. You can call me Lucy, and I'm the lead of this affinity group. My pronouns are she, hers, and my ethnicity is Chinese American. My parents are immigrants from China, and I'm also a technically first generation American and student. I'm located in New York City, New York, and my affiliation is with the Stony Brook Collegiate section. I study mechanical engineering, graduating May 2021, and some of my hobbies, I have a bunch, but currently the ones I'm doing right now, houseplants, number one. I do graphic design. I make a lot of the graphics for the AG, and ballroom dancing. If anyone's into ballroom dancing, it's a lot of fun. It's so hard, but there's a lot of dances that you just do on your own without partner. But like, I mean, even during COVID times, I didn't have a partner. So, uh, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of Latin dances that look really nice. So, like the rumba, cha-cha, you can do all of those by yourself. And on the right, you'll see two pictures. One picture I actually took at the Sweet Installment in 2019, which was in Kansas, Wichita, Kansas. They have a museum there, the Cosmosphere, with a whole bunch of stuff from like Soviet Russia during the space age or like the Cold War space age, the first space age. And there was this really cool mural. And in the second picture, we have me and two of my peers were presenting. So I was also the president of the robotics team, and we were presenting this rover that we designed for a competition. So yeah, it's me. Han isn't here, so I'll skip her slide. And Retina, I hope I'm saying your name right.
Yeah, you're saying my name right. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. So hi everyone. I'm Josiana Teo. I'm one of the 3 new volunteers this year, part of the social media subgroup specifically. My pronouns are she, her. I identify as a Chinese American. I was born in San Francisco, but I was raised in Malaysia. I'm currently located in Philadelphia, where I'm affiliated with the Drexel University Collegiate section. I'm currently a third year in architectural engineering, and my hobbies and interests include arts and crafts, traveling, not during COVID, and photography.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, question for you as well. What do you do in terms of arts and crafts?
I do a lot of watercoloring,
Mm.
and I need to do woodworking, but I don't have my tools in America, so I had to put a pause on that.
Awesome. Rachel, she's not in this meeting. I'll skip her slide. And how do you pronounce your name?
So yeah, my name is Shengu. Usually people just call me Shang.
Shang.
Yes. So my pronouns she, her. I am a Chinese. I'm also an international student at UC Davis. I'm currently doing my master in mechanical engineering. Currently, I'm located at Davis, near Sacramento, California. I'm associated with UC Davis SWE chapter and Sacramento section, and I'm also part of my company's Keysight SWE group as well. So hobbies and interests, I used to travel a lot, read a lot, and during COVID, I spent more time making fermented food from bread, kimchi to rice wine. So that's
Yeah.
some hobbies right now.
Love kimchi. Kimchi is so good. Are you thinking about making kombucha?
Yeah, I tried, but then it didn't come out good. So
Yeah, those scobies are definitely something. I would probably I would probably be more likely to drink it if I didn't make it and see it actually fermenting and ooh. Um, yeah, that's awesome. Keysight is a great volunteer is a great sponsor of SWE. I believe they sponsored the Collegiate Leadership Institute as well. So they definitely have a presence at the conference. Okay, so you go by Shang, but how is your name pronounced in Chinese?
Shengo.
Shenga.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so I wasn't too far off. Yeah, when I saw it, so whenever I see a Chinese name, I just tend to pronounce how it's probably sounds in Pinyin. Um,
Yeah,
but
it's almost right.
yeah, but I've been
Hey,
told.
Shang, can you write your name in Chinese in the chat? I want to see.
Oh yeah, yeah, sure. Hi, Vanessa. It's nice to see you here.
Yeah, it's kind of I got called out for it actually because sometimes I would just throw like random Chinese into my sentence especially if I'm saying a name, and my American friends are like, "Whoa, that was kind of weird." Sounds so because Chinese sounds very different from English. But for me, it's like I speak Chinglish.
Oh, does your parents like music?
No, none of them play music, but my name is given by my grandpa, like who plays a lot music instruments.
Awesome. And next up is Danielle.
Hello, my name is Lee Danielle Young. Lee Danielle is my first name, and I go by Lee Danielle, Lee, or Danielle, or LD. Doesn't really matter. My pronouns are she, hers. I am ethnically Chinese and Korean, but I was raised as a third generation Chinese Japanese American. My mom actually was not my genetic mom. I came from donor eggs, so just 2 years ago, I reconnected with my real mom, so that's been kind of interesting. So I'm still exploring that part of my identity. I was born and raised in Honolulu, Hawaii, and I currently am at the university there. And I'm studying mechanical engineering, graduating this semester. So I've also been transitioning into working with the Hawaiian Islands professional section there. My hobbies and interests include travel to get off of the island rock. I'm also into rock climbing, hiking, bullet journaling, crafts, and I love animals.
Yes. Yeah.
So I just got into rock climbing this past year in January. And so I was going for several months until the gyms shut down in COVID. And I haven't tried outdoor climbing yet, but I really want to. Yeah.
What level did you get up to with the indoor gym?
I
Also
think
bouldering
bouldering. I think I climb at maybe like a V2 or 3 level.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I have spaghetti arms because I haven't been climbing. I have
That's
spaghetti
me
arm
too.
now. Yeah, it's so much fun. I personally prefer top rope because I'm like always scared of falling when I boulder. Uh, yeah. Oh, my gym also has like ice pick climbing. They did like a demo on that. It was crazy. I was like, I don't know how they were doing it, but they had the tools. They were demonstrating with the tools somehow. Maybe they were just simulating it. Um, uh, mhm. Yeah. Wow.
Wow.
Very cool. And we have one more volunteer, Celine. I don't have her slide. Okay, so Tiana and Celine, you'll need to use a different email for accessing the Google Drive since I don't think it works with your EDU email. So like afterwards, just send me your like a alternative email. But Celine, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. I'll send you my email after this. But hi, I'm Celine. I'm going to be working with the collegiate engagement subgroup. My pronouns are she, hers. I am also Chinese Malaysian American. I am also right now in Philadelphia, although home is New York. And I'm affiliated with the Drexel Collegiate C section. I am in my 4th year studying computer engineering and electrical and telecommunications engineering, and I'm currently still working as a systems engineer at L3 Harris. I have hobbies such as roller skating as of like this pandemic, and then also I like cooking and fermenting foods and doing stuff like that.
Yeah, so a lot of common hobbies. I mean, one thing we could do is more of a, I don't know, share your like a show and tell, share your fermented food recipes within the AG. Uh, I think one really exciting aspect about our group is we're not just professional. We're meant to be a community. We're meant to have fun, be a little more relaxed, less professional side of sweet. I know it's kind of hard with me because I have that issue personally where I can't like I'm like always professional. uh I've been trying to relax. People have that's like the feedback I get. But yeah, but we are that group. If you're, I love talking about plants, and I've been looking for people to talk about plants with. So I mean, yeah,
I
just
also started getting into plants
yes,
during the
perfect.
pandemic.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, feel free to share about your interests and hobbies within the group because that's what we're really here for, to just really just support each other, especially during the current times when everyone's so isolated.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, next up. This meeting will likely run around maybe 10 minutes late because we did start a little later. I hope that's not too much of an issue. If you do need to drop off, that's fine. Yeah. So for this year, we're introducing work groups. We kind of had them last year as well for Asian Pacific Heritage Month and for mentoring, where we gathered volunteers to work on a cross-functional project. This year, we're making them more official, and we're introducing two new ones: the API leadership gap analysis within SWE work group and the leadership transition work group. But the leadership transition one will kick off in the spring. So I'll go over them real quick. Oh, and my room is really cold right now, so it's kind of hard for me to be comfortable. If I sound a little uncomfortable, that's why I'm like freezing. Um, I know in many of your applications and many of last year's applications, many people mentioned wanting to promote more women, especially Asian women, in senior leadership. And I realized that we weren't really achieving that goal. We weren't besides some of the workshops that we haven't really done anything to promote more Asian women in SWE leadership specifically. So the goal of this work group, and right now, we don't have a lead for the work group. So if you're interested in leading it, feel free to volunteer, maybe through email. Just send me an email. Basically, this will be so the role of this group is to look at SWE as an example of a corporation or an organization and try to figure out why don't we have any Asian women on the board of directors? Why do we have so few Asian women in the Senate and on the slate when the nominations are released? And within this group, I imagine you'll be conducting interviews, having discussions with the board of directors, and ultimately coming up with recommendations for how we can bring more Asian women into the BOD, the Senate, and the committee leadership. One thing to note is we're actually doing pretty well in terms of committee leadership. We're at 16%. We're essentially overrepresented because within SWE, we're only well, at the very minimum, we're 10% of the entire SWE population membership, but we're 60% of the committee leadership. This is a recent trend. Maybe another question that this group can answer is how do we maintain that pipeline of leaders, of Asian leaders, not just to have peaks where, okay, one year we do really well, but then we have a few generation of leaders who aren't Asian or something like that. In terms of the board of directors, we haven't had an Asian BOD in a few years. The last one I can remember is the collegiate director, Nicole Woon. I think that was at least 6 years ago. But we might have an Asian BOD, Asian board director on the board next year, just based on the nomination, the call for feedback for the nominations. So it's really improving, but it would be good to have recommendations and to have a an actual idea of API leaders. Another thing,
I had a quick question before you moved on. When do those nominations come out? Just for my knowledge, what's the time frame?
the list of people who apply to be on the slate has already come out. That's already public, but the actual voting slate is later. Yeah, I think it's either in March or even before that. It might be in January, February, or March. Can
So,
anyone correct me on that? Yeah.
So like thinking about next year, the next list would come out like next summer. Is that about the right time frame?
It actually came out early October. This is October, not November. Yeah, it came out early October. The call for nominations ended like on the 26th of September, something like that.
Got it.
Yeah. There are actually quite a few Asian women who have applied to be in these leadership roles. We just don't really know why. I also contacted a lot of people who who are within our community, and they also said they weren't interested. So there's a lot of questions that can be answered through this work group that I'm excited to see. Next up is the mentoring work group, and last year we had a mentoring work group, and we originally were going to launch in the fall of this year, but a few things changed. For example, Sweet came out with their own mentor network, and if you go on it, I think if you just look up Sweet Mentor Network, you'll be able to find it. There is a option for selecting the affinity group, so you can select the AG and say you're affiliated with it, despite maybe never having heard of it or actually joining the AG. One potential goal of this work group is to work with the SWE mentor network and loop those mentors in with the AG and maybe create a more comprehensive um, mentoring program. Right now, it's set up for a one-time meeting, which might work for some people, but typically people are looking for more long-term, maybe monthly or bi-monthly meetings. And the mentoring work group is also going to be cross-functional, led by our new mentoring lead. Yay. And we do have some material that Victoria worked on last year. I think I think it's a good idea to continue with those forums to gather mentor mentee information, but try to incorporate more of the tools that Sweet is using. So we're doing less of the work that's already being done. Great. Yeah. Right now, the Sweet Mentor Network, it's basically a appointment system. You sign up, you make an appointment and have a 30-minute meeting. And beyond that, there's nothing else. There's no structure to it. It would be really great if the AG can provide that structure. And the lead for this is, I believe, Shivani Cole. And I'll be connecting with her on Wednesday. We'll probably have an update after that meeting. Next up is APA Heritage Month, which we had a very successful inaugural celebration for this month, the first within SWE. And in the minutes, you can see some of the content that we put out. And I think this really worked, and it was a great example of a functional work group. Um, so yeah, and the lead for this will be the cultural lead, which is Han. This year, since I'm the second of my 2 years as lead, we'll have a leadership transition work group. It'll probably include the advisors to really help streamline the process of introducing new volunteers before the fiscal year ends. One thing to note is we're actually starting quite late in terms of onboarding new volunteers. Typically, the fiscal year starts in June and ends, or starts in July. It ends June 30th and starts July 1st. So we're a few months behind, and those summer months can be really critical for planning the fiscal year. And the main goal of this work group is to align our timeline with SWE's timeline, volunteer recruitment timeline, and to ensure that the documentation is in place so that once I leave, Margaret can take over, and perhaps if some of our other volunteers leave, then they can transfer their knowledge to the next lead. And yeah, do we have any questions about the work groups? Also, if you have ideas for other work groups that you might want to lead or share, just email or message and we can definitely discuss it. All right, subgroup report and just really quickly, these are the subgroups that already existed or that exist that have people that have returning volunteers. Just really quickly, if you can give us a quick update on where these groups are at. Let's start with community or any of like your current projects.
Can I start first? This is Vanessa.
Yeah, you can start with conference.
Yeah, so we have multiple conference associated with Asian American that I put a post yesterday in our Facebook page that kind of lists out what are some that pertain to Asian Americans. As far as the We20, we also have, I actually recreate the event. We have 3 watch party event on the day after those on demand section where it's open to all people, members and non-members. I changed the event to Zoom so that it's easier to share with non-members. Also, earlier this month, submitted We Local section for lost in translation for the 3 We Local section. Not sure which one it will be accepted, but we go for all 3 of them and see how it goes.
Okay, cool.
That's it.
Thank you. Christine, can you unmute currently?
Yeah, sorry. Hi.
No, it's
So
fine.
the community subgroup really focuses on the Facebook group, LinkedIn group, and the Instagram account at the moment. And we're just trying to build spaces where people can have formal and informal discussions, whether it's about professional things or not.
Oh. Yes. Yeah,
Christine.
yeah, I think it might be a little noisy where she is, but this year we're going to try to do lean-in circles. I still need to, or this is just a suggestion for a community. These will be small discussion groups where people. These will be themed discussion groups where a small group of people can gather and just have a conversation, a candid conversation on the topic. For example, first generation students. If we have first gen um, members within the AG, it'll just be a very casual, informal discussion on what our experiences were, and it's also open to, I guess, allies of that particular group or anyone who is interested in learning more about what might be the struggles of a API first gen student. Another example would be East Asians or South Asians. I know that one of the issues with, or one of the challenges that the affinity group faces is we're so diverse, where Asian is such a broad term that having these smaller community discussions, hopefully they'll be through Zoom or in our platform, will, I think, really bring us together and create those authentic connections.
Sorry, yeah, I'm on the road right now.
Yeah,
But I
it's
meant to
fine.
add that we're starting a few new things, like
Mhm.
Feature Friday. So every first Friday of the month, we're going to feature one of our members. If you would like to be featured, please let me know, and I would be happy to feature you. And regular Facebook welcome posts and things like that.
Yeah, awesome. And Danielle, can you give us an update on newsletter?
Hello. So I haven't developed a newsletter in a while, but I started the first draft and layout of our monthly newsletter back in March. And the original thoughts I put together were announcements relevant for SWE and featuring some of like the photos that we shared at the time in our Facebook group. So I grabbed like our old We19 photos. And we also had a member feature. So that's what I think it will mostly be comprised of, but I would like help in like suggestions or seeing like other photos that we could maybe send out to our members. Um, And yeah, and the newsletter will be sent out via MailChimp, so we can email it to our members.
Yeah, great. Ooh, great. Awards and cultural awards. Yes, Victoria. Yes. Yep. Yeah, I'm not sure either. The nominees or the nominators will hear back first, but we had a few nominations from the AG. Vanessa
Yeah, I
was
think
one of them.
it says middle of December, but they also said that because December is a busy month for a lot of people, so don't be surprised if you don't hear back in the middle by the middle of December.
Hmm. I'm not sure. That's a good idea. We did shout them out at the last general meeting. We had a list and everyone clapped. It was great. We could do a more official Facebook post, just gathering all those names. Maybe gathering some photos, or another idea is like a awards video. If you want to do that, but that's a lot of effort. And I'm currently, yeah. Oh yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, I think they definitely should get recognition on our social media platforms. And the next round of awards is for annual conference We21. And I think that's going to be in the spring, closes in March, and I think you get 2 months for that. But that'll be the next peak of work where we might be working on workshops again to help attendees apply for awards, and we'll be doing reviews again. In the meantime, one thing that awards can work on is gathering maybe a list of external awards, external to SWE. So if you know of any other organization, perhaps SACE, the Society of Asian Scientists and Engineers, that our members could apply to, just having that list and promoting them when those applications are open would be really great for uh, our members. So that's an idea. Yeah. Next up, so Vanessa talked about our activities. This is a slide just covering some of them. Who's going to We20 just by a show of voices? I don't know.
I I plan to listen to it afterward.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think that's 6 of us. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, right. That's really great. Hopefully, you can watch these. If not, definitely try to attend the discussion session. I think they'll be really uh, useful besides just watching the session. Okay. Right, this is our final slide. I have 1 minute until 8:15. Make sure to join the Slack. We're moving away from Facebook Messenger because not everyone on the leadership team uses Facebook, unfortunately. We'll still have the group as a more casual way of just talking to each other. If you're interested in joining that, you can add me on Facebook and I'll add you to the group. Okay, but we will be shifting to Slack. Have you used Discord before? Okay, it's basically professional Discord. People usually call Slack casual. No, people usually call Discord casual Slack. It, yeah. Yes, there's a free version of it. You're limited. You can't see like your very old messages, but I don't think that'll be an issue for this group, at least within this year. You get all the features that I think will be necessary for the team through the free version. Yeah, a lot of companies use it. I think it's pretty secure. A lot of companies trust it. So yeah, I think it's a best platform besides Discord. And I think Discord would be even harder for some of us to use. Okay. Look out for those subgroup meetings. No, they're not subgroup meetings. Look out for these focus area meetings, since many of you are subgroup leads of one. So your specific area, like conference or awards, that's your subgroup. Your Alita one will be putting you with your specific pillar or focus area, so you have other people to brainstorm with and discuss. It's kind of organized, so there's a common theme, whether it's development or like membership development or community building. Yeah. And those, go see emails from either me or Margaret, kind of organizing those and just making sure everyone's on the same list. But they'll be pretty self-run, I think, going forward. Is anyone interested in volunteering for resume reviews, like reviewing resumes for the SWE conference within the affinity group? If you're interested, just say you're interested. Okay, Victoria, Margaret,
Yeah, Vanessa.
yeah, Vanessa, anyone else? Yeah, I can also ask the group because we do have a good number of professionals. We're only expecting perhaps 2 to 3 hours, 30-minute sessions, and the idea is to use Calendarly if you're comfortable with it. It's a appointment app. You set your appointment slots, and then our members can just sign up for them instead of having us to coordinate times back and forth through email. Uh, that's one option. We'll send a follow-up email if to see what the group of volunteers wants to do. And we're thinking just quick, like 15 to 30-minute sessions, resume review sessions, rather than just doing it on paper and sending it to them, because you typically get a lot more out of just telling them how they should improve rather than trying to type it out in words. Okay. Yeah, we don't have time for feedback, but does anyone have any last questions?
Lisi, I think we had talked, the one other thing we wanted to do like pretty quickly pre-conference was the tips and like a tips and tricks for We20 conference one pager. So I added I just created a quick draft for you based on what we talked about yesterday. I kind of organized it like pre-conference, when you're at the conference, a career fair, and then post-conference. So if you want to take a look at that, or if anybody else wants to, I put it in resources. It's just literally bullets right now, more about content than making it pretty, but that's there. So let me know if you want anything extra on that.
Yeah, I'll probably ask Shang. Shang. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. I'll probably ask for your input as professional engagement lead, and could the Rachel, our collegiate engagement lead, as well as Danielle, with more help on the formatting design, perhaps, to just really move that forward and have it ready by conference. We're thinking within the next 2 weeks, just release it. Doesn't have to be the prettiest thing, but maybe making an infographic or two.
Yeah, I tried to go around the We20 website a little bit and see what tips and tricks they had, because this is obviously our first virtual conference. So I'm kind of stealing their tips and tricks and putting them in ours.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting. I tried to incorporate too, kind of like Zoom meeting best practices for the interviews for career fairs, but I haven't actually done any Zoom interviews. I have a lot of Zoom meetings every day, but if anyone has like the VFair tips, that would be great too.
Yeah, that's it.
Cool.
I know some people have been asking about what their specific role entails. If you go into the onboarding document, it's well within the leadership. in the Google Drive. Everyone should have access to the Google Drive except Dratiana and Celine. Once I update your email, you should have access to the Google Drive folder. Spend some time, look around, but within the leadership folder, which is one, you'll find the list of roles and responsibilities for your specific role. One thing to note is we're pretty flexible in terms of what you want to do with the role, and we are looking for that initiative, and for you to really flesh out your plan and activities for your specific role. In terms of collegiate and professional engagement, we're thinking maybe one event per month specific to your area, or maybe just alternate it. So one month we do professional, the other month we do collegiate, and back and forth. But yeah, let us know what you think. Okay. Yeah. So this is the end of the meeting. I'm gonna go eat dinner now. So have a great night, everyone.
Thank you. It's
Bye
great to see
bye.
everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.